Listen in. Starbucks. It's a great day for coffee.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. This is Wildcat Insider with the Mercury sports editor Tim Everson and KMAN sports director Mitch Fortner.
A thriller it was this past Saturday in Boulder, Colorado, in front of nearly 54,000 fans, some of them celebrities. K-State survives a road trip out to Colorado, and the Cats are now 5-1, 2-1 in Big 12 play. They get set for a road trip to Morgantown, West Virginia, this Saturday to take on the Mountaineers at 6:30. Power K game day will start at 2:30 in the afternoon. Mitch Fortner with Tim Everson and AJ Shaw is on our board. The phone line and text line, they're open, folks. 785-537-1350. Again, the number to call or text us, 785-537-1350. There's honestly, if you're listening, you want to share anything with us, if you just watched from home or went to the game, there's a number of things I would actually love to know about. Number one, did you stay up and watch the whole thing? Because the game ended around 1 a.m. Central Time, because I think the game kicked off at 9:25, and actually it was more like 9:27. And it was a 3.5-hour game, so right before 1 a.m. So did you stay up? And if you went to the game, did you have any negative interactions with Colorado fans? I would love to know any of those answers, or if you just want to give us 2 cents on your thoughts on the game and the win against Colorado, 31-28. Phone line and text line is 785-537-1350. What a win, Tim. We were both there at the press box there at Folsom Field. Where do you want to start? Because there are a ton of storylines from this win for K-State, some good, some, not so good. But, from what we've really heard from Chris Kleiman, what was the not so good, like the injuries, seems like, well, for now, at least everybody's still, looks like they're going to possibly play against West Virginia. We can start wherever you want. What comes off your mind right at first about what it took to get this job done against Colorado?
Yeah, I guess the first thing that immediately pops to my mind, I think that it would be disrespectful if we don't start this without talking about the best running back in the Big 12 Conference right now, Mr. DJ Giddens. He was incredible, especially in the first half. He set a tone for this team, and he's obviously not the only reason why they won. Lots of things went into that, but to just drive home before the game last week, coming into the game, I talked about physicality. K-State's physicality is going to be the difference. He set that tone, especially on the offensive end. Let them know that not only were they not intimidated, but we will be pushing you around, please. Thank you. In front of all your friends and Kevin Durant.
Boy, we could talk about that too. I did a lap before the game. Whenever I go on the road, us media, we get to go on the field. If you don't have a camera or anything, you're not a photographer or catching video, you're allowed on the field pregame and postgame. And I always go down to the field pregame, just get a feel of the place, get close to the field. And there's not much sideline. There's not much bench over there, right? It's kind of like Boone Pickens. And the whole pregame, I'm hearing Colorado fans just try to do what they can to intimidate K-State the whole time. But then I knew there's also going to be celebrities there. So I took my time to get over there. And once you got over to the Colorado side, cramped. It was shoulder to shoulder, could barely move. It was like a capacity-filled nightclub. You couldn't move anywhere. Excuse me. I saw Kevin Durant right away. I saw Devin Booker right away. Bradley Beal right away.
John Wall.
I did not see John Wall.
He was there.
But I heard he was there. CeCe Sabathia I saw there. He has lost a lot of weight. He is not the same CeCe as when he was with the Yankees. Warren Sapp I did not see, but apparently he was there. The Denver Nuggets were in town to play basketball against the Nuggets the next night. So
Westbrook was there too.
Or I should say, who do I say? The Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, the Suns were there.
Yeah.
You saw Warren Sapp because Warren Sapp's the coach there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's their he's the line coach, I think.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't look that far into Colorado.
Yeah.
A shout out to Warren Sapp.
You know, it must be nice being Deion Sanders. You can call up one of the greatest defensive players of all time and
Excuse me,
have him be an assistant coach.
Wait. Going back to DJ Giddens, there's only been a few guys in my lifetime, or at least when I really started to watch K-State sports when I was a kid, that would always do the same thing and still continue to wow you. Like they do something, you're like, wow, what a stud, geez, wow, impressive. And DJ Giddens is one of them. You know, I was telling people on Saturday today, talking with White and the rest of the media, as we were sitting around and just chatting for a while. You know, I was like, you know, if there was one thing, man, he's better than Deuce Vaughn. It's that cutting. It's just so impressive how he goes from he's going straight forward and all of a sudden poof, to the right, making a sick cut, and then after that next step, he can make another cut, and he just cuts so fast. He's so quick. He has that jab step in him. That's just it's out of this world good. Mm-hmm. I don't think. I haven't really watched Ashton Genty this year. He's the leading rusher. He's a Heisman Trophy favorite out of Boise State. He's over now 1,200 yards on the season. He ran for over 200, I think, against Hawaii. At least I expected him to. Haven't really watched him. I haven't seen anybody in college football this year make the kind of moves that DJ has, and also at the same time, because usually that's like the, you know, the quicker ones and the skinny. You know, DJ's a big guy. At the same time, he is super hard to tackle. Chris Kleiman, he hinted at this a little bit at the end of talking about DJ. Hopefully DJ's finally going to get the respect he deserves, because even heading into that game against Colorado, still not really talked about. Ashton Genty has stolen a lot of the sunlight from anybody that's outside of the quarterback position. DJ needs to be recognized more. And I guarantee you, the numbers, I haven't seen them yet, but I bet there are a lot of eyeballs in that game on Saturday. And one of the biggest takeaways, if you watched a lot of that game, had to be the way DJ Giddens was running the football. You could not watch that and not be incredibly impressed.
Well, and this being a social media dominated world, he was kind of, I mean, there are highlights, but there was nothing super flashy until he made Shiloh Sanders take a knee. And
two knees.
Two knees, actually, yeah. That has made the rounds. And so I think that has been, hopefully, will be the first step to DJ getting some more national recognition. Because, you know, the people who know. If you follow the Big 12, you know. But he's not a name that's on everyone's lips. As far as Ashton Genty is concerned, he deserves everything he has. He's probably a little faster than DJ is, just top end speed. He can run away from people a little bit better. He's also probably facing inferior competition than what DJ is playing. But he's great. I don't think you need to compare the two. But, man, it's just every time, every game that now. I thought that I had seen the best at Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma State 2 weeks ago. And I think he had better. Like UCF last year was really, really good. But it's just the stuff that he's doing. It's just incredible.
UCF last year was his career high in yardage. He had to carry the ball a ton because Trayshawn Ward wasn't available. This year, these past two games, if you also count the Oklahoma State game, back-to-back games, this has actually been the best back-to-back games in DJ Giddens' career. The reason he's not on most people's, you used lips, why they're not saying his name more is because he only has 2 rushing touchdowns. I think is a big factor there. His all-purpose is just under 1,000 yards. He has 3 total touchdowns. When you're not scoring, it's not the same impact as the yardage. You can have the yardage, like, well, where's the scoring? Where's the touchdowns to really show it off? So I think that's maybe what's holding him back from more of a national recognition. but DJ with a $182 against Colorado. Did not take a tackle for loss. His longest run was 26 yards. It looked like he maybe was short of the goal line, almost scored, but it was cool that Dylan Edwards scored a touchdown. That was kind of a big thing for me heading into this game. Because I'm always wondering, like, when a player's about to play a former team, like in basketball, Cam Carter this year is going to be making a return trip to Bramlage as a player for LSU. He's going to play against K-State. So, like, are you always pumped up a little bit more when you play against people you know really well? I don't know about you, but I think I saw a different – Dylan Edwards has swagger. I think it was at another level. Like, he really wanted to play well. On that level, plus, I think he'd been quiet the last 3 games. For him to get in the end zone, to me, was a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it was huge. It was huge, and it was on a drive that was a drive in which K-State ran the ball 8 straight times. And then talking to some of the offensive linemen earlier today, they were like, yeah, actually, a lot of times we were just running the same play over and over and over again, and they just couldn't stop it, which is fun. That's some NCAA football stuff where you're just like, and halfback dive again, and halfback dive again. But no, Dylan and getting in the end zone was huge. The way that he stretched out, I think that was the 9-yard run before the touchdown run, because he almost scored, and then it got reviewed, right? And then he did score. That just a super athletic play. I think the biggest tell of the level of respect that Colorado had for him, they did not want to kick to him at all night. They had zero interest in him getting any part of the return game at all.
Got a text from the 785. I wonder if we could do a David Allen chant for DJ Giddens sometime. Doubtful or doubt if all even remember it. I do. I remember Aaron Lockett. I remember Darren's. A lot of the chanting was for punt returns. DJ doesn't return punts, but Dylan Edwards. I mean, there's a lot of 4-syllable names, I think, and DJ Giddens is there as well. So
it would work out well. I agree.
Let's hear from Chris Kleiman after the game about, first of all, DJ Giddens and his performance.
This is the best he's playing right now. I mean, what he did 2 weeks ago against Oklahoma State, what he did this weekend, he just doesn't go down with first contact. And you're thinking, oh, shoot, it's 2nd and 8, and all of a sudden, oh, shoot, he got 6, he got 8. Oh, he busted it out and got 20.
I mean, it was at a point where, both teams were kind of like, all right, K-State, we're going to run the football. Stop us. And then after halftime, Colorado's like, all right, we're just going to throw the ball. Stop us. And, at a point where Travis Hunter gets hurt. What's his name? Jimmy Horn, their second best receiver. He also got hurt. I don't know if people noticed this, but actually 4 of the top 8 receivers for Colorado got hurt in this game. And then K-State in one of the first drives of the second half, then all the secondary guys start dropping out. They get banged up, and the fans start booing, which, okay, like I get – that wasn't the – actually, if you're going to start faking injuries, that's not the time. K-State's up 2 scores. Like – and it was who was it? Justice James, who actually got to start because K-State opened up in dime with 1 linebacker. And I was like, okay, this was very interesting to throw this because you're just basically daring Colorado to run the football, and they tried too early. K-State shut that down big time. I was going to play a clip from Dylan Edwards. Chris Kleiman feeling it was special to get Dylan in the end zone.
We were close on scoring the one time with him. He ran really hard. I was really happy for him, to get that big score for him, that was important for us.
Anyway, I wanted to play that before we got into another direction, but for the defense, to talk about them for just a moment, I guess there's 2 sides of this, 2 directions you could go in. One, stopping the run, mixed in with just how insanely good the defensive line was, getting pressure. Sometimes the pressure did backfire. There was that play where, I think it was maybe on the first touchdown, where Colorado just had an easy touchdown because K-State brought a safety blitz. It was a little bit delayed, and then that put Keenan Garber in a really bad spot where he had to try to cover 2 guys at once.
Did not work.
Just did not work out. And K-State still gives up 388 yards to Deion Sanders, and statistically, that's Shedur's sixth best passing performance in his career. 3 touchdowns, the 1 interception. Look, Shedeur was, I thought, really good. His accuracy is insane. His vision under pressure is insane. He really did live up to the hype that Chris Kleiman gave him that Shedeur Sanders should be the first quarterback off the board in the 2025 draft.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand I understand that people are tired of him and Deion and the whole thing, but he is legit. He is legit, and I mean, I'm sure that K-State's not there. You know, they didn't wish that he got hurt, but they're not sad that they didn't have to play more snaps against him. I think Travis Hunter is the real deal as well. I think both of them, could be dropped on literally any team in the country right now, and they'd be one of the best in their field.
Sure,
it's the hype for the rest of the team that I think is overblown, and I think some of that was shown. But he's going to be legit. He's going to be playing on Sundays for a long time because of what you said, that accuracy. I mean, that's you can. I mean, look at Joe Flacco. I mean, if you can manage a game like that, plus have some special stuff, you're going to be playing on Sunday for a long time.
And we praised DJ Giddens. Defensively, we need to praise Brennan Mott. The defensive line was all great, and they had 6 sacks in the game. I mean, Baylor had 8 sacks against Colorado on that very field. Took a possession to really dial up the pressure and really get home. K-State finishing with 6 sacks. The first 4, they weren't all credited to Brennan Mott. He didn't get, as far as I understand, I don't think he got half sacks on some of them, which he could have. But Brennan Mott, I made a comparison to Felix Anudike-Uzomah in the TCU game. No, he did not have the amount of sacks. When it comes to just destroying a lineman, and that lineman's name is Tyler Brown, who's a redshirt senior. He's a transfer redshirt senior. He's been playing ball a long time. Brennan Mott, who, if you just meet him on the street, he's a tall guy, nicest kid in the world. You don't see him in this big, intimidating football player. You just don't. Got a soft voice, He embarrassed this lineman. I mean, his moves were quick. He was always a step ahead. He was beating this kid all night long. I was watching Brennan a ton. And the reason that K-State got those first four sacks in the game for K-State was mainly because of Brennan Mott and what he was able to do to put pressure on Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about just how much he's improved. Because it's not like he was, he's been good. The last couple years, he's been good, but it's always been I don't know, it's always been fine. He's been the second or third best guy out there. He's taken a step, and then he's the best pass rusher in the conference, and the stats back it up. He has a sack more than anyone else does right now in the Big 12. He can just take stuff. You can just take it over sometimes. If you don't have someone competent on him, it's done.
Well, K-State moves on to 5-1, 2-1 in Big 12 play. Later on in the show, we'll take a look at the Big 12 standings, look at this past weekend in the Big 12, what's to come this week in the Big 12. Obviously, now K-State, with a tad bit of luck, if they can get that later on down the road, is certainly in a good spot to make it to Arlington. Got to continue to win, though. That continues this Saturday at West Virginia. Mountaineers lost to Iowa State. Cats got to put it together and win a third game in a row to keep them in a very good spot for Arlington. When we come back, we're going to hear from some players after the game, and not just those players for K-State. We're also going to hear from Deion Sanders. He had, some tough words for his son Shiloh, the same kid that had his ankles broken by DJ Giddens. That audio is coming up next. You're listening to Wildcat Insider. Back on Wildcat Insider, Mitch Fortner, Tim Everson, AJ Shaw. Again, the phone lines are open, 785-537-1350. 785-537-1350. Also, feel free to text us, and hopefully a little bit later on here in the show, we'll get to some more of those texts and hear what you guys have to say about the win over Colorado. Were you there? Were you at the game? Did you have a negative interaction with a Colorado fan or fans, or hear anything that you wanted to share with us? Yeah. Feel free to give us a shout, which I think a lot of us have seen the video. I don't know if it was at the end of the game or at what point, but it was in the corner of the stadium by the band, and apparently there was some giant fight I've heard from a number of people as well that very disappointed by the treatment from the Colorado fans, which we were told on the show last week that no, it really hasn't changed a whole lot over the last decade and a half. My thought was, man, I don't think a lot of these people know how football works. There were a couple of instances, like, for example, when K-State had it was after it was on the drive that Avery got hurt. We haven't even talked about hardly injuries yet. Kind of looked like a freak thing for Avery there for a minute, but got that treatment, came back in, and Avery was Avery. He said he was feeling like $100. I was like, oh, a whole Benjamin, huh? Not typically the expression, but we'll take $100. But anyway, it was on the drive where it was fourth and goal, or it's fourth down in inches. It wasn't fourth and goal. Giddens, with the carry, reaches the ball across the line. He's got it past the one, and the place just erupts. I'm like, what are you? Yeah. K-State got the first down. Yes. The place is going crazy. And I'm like, do you guys not know? Are you getting back to learning football over again because Deion Sanders is the head coach? You finally have some success over the last decade and a half. I'm poking fun a little bit here, but I was just like a little surprised. I'm like, am I the only one that knew that was not fourth and goal?
Half of those people haven't been to a game since 2002, so it's fine.
Well, somebody in the media was telling me that they had been to 5 or 6 Colorado games over the last, decade or so, and like probably the crowd at those 5 games combined did not add up to the 54,000 that was at Folsom Field this past Saturday. But it was, I would say, the crowd didn't get too loud on first and second down when K-State was on offense. They cranked it up on third down. It reminded me, actually, I thought it felt very similar to the game in Lawrence last year, where, it didn't get too loud on first and second down, cranked it up on third down, but also a big part of that was the music. The music was crazy loud. The TV broadcast, I could tell, didn't really pick that up. It was super loud in the stadium. Me. It was the same song. It was like in Columbia. They had that the trumpet song.
Timmy Trumpet.
Yeah.
I got so sick of that song. By the way, I just saw here something from Kellis. Taylor Portier said he was starstruck by all the NBA players and famous Colorado coaches. Somebody told him Rihanna was there, but he was disappointed she wasn't true. She now has an open invite to the rest of the K-State home games.
We were standing right there when he said that, yeah.
He was, when I was asked about it, he just gave a little shrug, like, I mean, if she wants to.
Somebody else said it was like, oh, yeah, that could be your Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be in. I don't know. He may have a girl. I don't know. Anyway. Okay, let's hear from some of the players after the game as K-State beats Colorado 31-28 to get to 5-1 on the year. K-State's first win in Boulder, I believe, since 2007. Is that right?
2006.
6.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cats get it done. Brennan Mott spoke to the media. He was the last person to speak to the media. The defensive line had that success because they stuck to the game plan.
Watching film, we knew that we were going to be able to get after this guy. He's able to extend plays, so having good pass rush lanes was critical for us, but being able to rush 4, just knowing what moves that we're going to start out with, kind of coming in with the pass rush game plan was huge. And then also being able to rotate a bunch of pass rushers and keeping us fresh and seeing those young guys make plays was awesome. Seeing Ryan Davis get his first sack, man, we're all jumping on the sidelines, so it was awesome.
All right, without looking, can you tell me, Tim or AJ, can you tell me how many rushing yards Colorado finished the game with?
Negative 29.
Negative 54.
I wish. No, Tim's on the money. I figured you remember that number because I was just keeping track of it. Obviously, a big deal about that was that Shadur gave up some monster sacks.
He did.
He could have been a little bit quicker on the scrambling. It seemed like every time, like really, the only direction he could go was backwards. Sometimes he was blocked right into the sack. I remember the Cody Stufflebean sack. He was just kind of forced out that way, and then Stuff just got pushed in his way, and I was like, oh, that's phenomenal. I love that. Yes, minus 29 rushing yards for Colorado. When it comes to actual, like, not Shadur Sanders sacks, which he lost 50 yards, I think, in sacks in total. You take that away, do the math. The ball carriers, actual running backs, had 21 total yards. The minus 29 yards is the third fewest allowed in program history for K-State. And it's the fewest since the Baylor game in 2002. I believe I saw that.
I think you
somewhere.
are correct. Yes. I should have looked up what number one is. Like what?
It's probably a game that goes back to like 1938 or, the last time Iowa State was 6-0.
Yeah.
Sometime way back then. All right. But I was just so impressed by Brendan Mond just destroying that right tackle. I could talk about that all show. Hearing from, DJ Giddens, he doesn't talk a whole lot, but he was very happy to give you 10 seconds about Avery stepping up in that second half after the injury.
He threw that pick, and he could have been down about it, but he came back out, didn't let it faze him. And that's like maturity. He matured, and he went out and made a play.
Oh, my God, that interception brought that crowd to life. Holy cow. That Folsom Field was just going bonkers, and I felt like I was about to witness Columbia, Missouri all over again from a year ago because that crowd was going nuts, especially after that game-winning field goal. K-State, of course, gave up that touchdown just a few plays later, but what we haven't talked about yet is that touchdown pass. Coming out, just slinging it around. First throw to Jace Brown was just barely missed. Off to Giddens, little wheel route, easy play, wide open. He redeemed himself off the drop. What a dime on that third play. 50 yards to the house for Jace Brown, and then who stared down the celebrities there in the northeast corner of Folsom Field.
There's a very, very fun picture of, I think, Bradley Beal reacting to
yes, I believe it was.
To the Jace Brown touchdown, just and shocked, and it's incredible. And it really is starting to show kind of the maturity of Avery and how he's getting more comfortable. Running the ball was not an option for him, especially in the second half after he got hurt. I mean, it was off the table. So he had to make the play, and it makes sense that he made it to the person that he has the most chemistry with, which was Jace. I mean, it's a roommate. It's great. It was also for Jace to have the speed to pull that off. All of it was wonderful.
Here's the Avery and Jace both talking about the game-winning touchdown.
It was man coverage. Avery knew it, so he gave me a good ball. The O-line held up, and I made a play.
It was just RPO. So we saw them man press. Tried it on the first play of the drive. Didn't connect. Told him I was coming back to him. And ultimately just wanted to put more air on it so he could make a play on it.
Big talking point last week is about Colorado's defense being better. Every guest we had on to talk about Colorado, they said, yeah, you can see it. The defense is getting better. It's way better than last year. They're better in the second half. But what was on the top of that marquee? What did they praise the most about the Colorado defense? I'll tell you. Heading into the K-State game, they had not allowed a 100-yard rusher, a 100-yard receiver in a game yet. Oops. That ended about halfway through the second quarter when DJ finished with a $182 and Jace Brown, 10 targets, 6 catches, 121 yards, 37 of that after the catch. The longest, a 50-yard touchdown. By the way, he scored twice in the game. Avery Johnson also talked about his injury. And that, I thought at first, I didn't see it actually happen when he went down. I just figured he got nailed. So I thought somebody was right there. Somebody corrected me on Twitter. No, he didn't get hit. It was kind of a non-contact thing. Here's Avery talking about his injury after the game.
It was so weird. I had got kneed on my hip. J-Jack got hurt, and we had a little TV timeout. And I was trying to stretch it out, but it was just feeling a little bit uncomfortable to me. And then I guess just the rotating of my body. It just felt like something had like pooled or in my like abdomen area, but I mean I was all good. I had to go in there and get treated, and then came out feeling like $100, man.
So got knee on his hip, so maybe it wasn't on the throw, because the play before that, I believe Avery ran the football and then was tackled kind of hard. So it must have happened the play before that he actually went down and was holding his side and was in a lot of pain. I thought a lot of people were giving the example of the Quinn Ewers injury from earlier this year, where he just kind of had this freak oblique injury and he had to sit for a couple of games. So when people are mentioning that, I'm like, oh, crap. This is not good. No, Avery goes right to the locker room, runs into the locker room, gets treated, goes back out. He's ready to go, finishes the drive for Taquan Roberson, who, by the way, was awesome.
Yes.
And then went back to the locker room, came back out. And Avery was good for the rest of the game, which, by the way, he did speak to the media today. Folks, Avery's good to go.
He's good.
No worries.
Yeah.
Good to go. Okay, now let's get to Deion Sanders. Spoke to the media after the game. Fielded a lot of questions about K-State. Also one about his son, not Shadur, Shiloh, who was back for the game. First, he gave a lot of respect for K-State.
Well-coached team, very disciplined team, ran the heck out of the football. That was the goal, to try to stop the run. We didn't do that whatsoever. They had 224 yards rushing, which they ultimately dominated the time of possession, which is not good, because now we can't get on the field and do what we're capable of doing. Coach Kleiman was wonderful. I have a lot of respect, a lot of admiration coming from FCS, as I did, and he is unbelievable, and his team was truly prepared.
Unless they had met at Big 12 Media Day,
Probably.
I would imagine
yeah.
that was the first time they had met in person, which reminded me, when Coach Sanders was talking there, I wanted to look at time of possession. I believe, it looks like I forgot to print that off, but maybe I have it here, but I mean, had K-State came out
35 minutes.
Yeah, K-State came out of the locker room and ran over half of the time off the third quarter clock because of that drive, converting some third down conversions. Yeah, I think you're right. It was like 35, 36 minutes K-State had the football. Here's Deion, Coach Prime, about DJ Giddens and the poor tackling by the Buffs.
He's phenomenal. He's one of the best in the country. I mean, his maneuverability is unbelievable. We didn't tackle well today whatsoever. We didn't get to the ball as a unit today whatsoever. We had some bust in a few things. I'm telling you, I hear the calls. Coach called a pretty darn good game. He called a really good game, and we just got to execute the calls.
And then was asked about a specific player, which is his son Shiloh, who was back after injury in the Nebraska game. He's a defensive back. He was second-team All-Pac-12 a year ago. I was watching him play. I didn't think he was very good. Had his ankles broken a couple of times by DJ Giddens. There was just that one play that was definitely highlighted because he fell down to his knees. He did not play well against Giddens. As a matter of fact, I thought Shiloh should have been called for targeting on one of those plays, and that did not end up happening. Well, one of the members of the media asked Deion Sanders, how well did Shiloh play?
I thought he played horrible. I thought he was rusty. I thought he didn't have his footing. I thought he wasn't breaking down. He was coming up trying to make the play, but open field one-on-one tackle with that kind of back is that ain't an easy task. But he's going to do better. I know what he has in him.
If Shiloh was on his son, do you think he gives you that same answer?
I don't think he says – I think he would say everything except for horrible.
Not the word horrible.
I think that first sentence probably no.
He could be more honest because it's his kids, right?
Exactly.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, last week in the Big 12 – a lot of interesting games. For me, kind of some boring results. It was so-so. A so-so week. More on Wildcat Insider in the Big 12 coming up next.
You're listening to Wildcat Insider.
Did we miss any K-State Colorado storylines we didn't get to? It's a lot to get to in a short amount of time when there was everything it felt like happening.
I mean, I guess just the final stop that the K-State defense made.
Yeah, was that pass interference?
Yeah.
I say absolutely not.
No, I don't think so.
I didn't see it live. I was wondering if they would throw a flag there, but it was just kind of hard to tell from our angle what kind of play Keenan Garber made. Keenan Garber made an excellent play.
He did. People are just so programmed to be like, oh, well, he didn't turn his head.
He turned his head.
Yeah.
He got turned around. He had a right for that football.
He did. People are like, "Oh, he tackled." He didn't tackle him. He fell into him after the ball was already
a little underthrown.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it, for as many struggles, and I'm sure part of it, Colorado by that point was down their top 4 receivers. But still, I mean, to get that stop is huge. It's just absolute, because they had struggled. They were struggling in the second half to stop the pass.
Yeah, they were. And yes, it is annoying. It absolutely is. I mean, K-State now 3 times this year has given up over 340 yards passing. That is super annoying. Maybe there is an asterisk because K-State was dropping like flies there for a minute, but the one I did worry about the most was Jacob Parrish. I thought he was absolutely concussed, but fingers crossed he's going to be okay and play this Saturday against West Virginia.
Not ruled out.
He's not ruled out.
He's not ruled out.
We'll see. That doesn't mean that he won't. He's just kind of protecting the a little bit of gamesmanship. You never know. But that third quarter was scary because not only did Avery Johnson get hurt, but you had that one drive where 4 players got hurt. Justice James on the first play. A few fans started to boo because it was a big play from Colorado. The very next play, Keenan Garber, he's cramping. Much louder boos. Marquise Siegel gets hurt the next play. So 3 straight plays. Louder boos. Then 2 plays later, Jacob Parrish is a victim of friendly fire, and I thought he was concussed. And Kleiman said after the game, like, hey, these are kind of our top guys. This is not, he didn't say this, but it wasn't the time if you're going to fake injuries, that's definitely not the time. It was just maybe some bad luck on K-State's side for a whole drive.
Right. It'd be one thing if it was a defensive lineman or whatever, but Colorado is, the only thing that they can do is throw the ball. Why would K-State not want its best defensive backs out there? And all that's minus Justice James, who is, kind of the second level of guys. But those other 3 are their best 3 defensive backs. Why would they not want them out there?
Zayshawn Rich, he had to step up, and he's a true freshman who had to get out there and play. And some of it, as Coach said, was by design. He had to play quite a bit, especially with the injuries kind of adding up there for K-State for a minute. Now, a lot of those guys did come back, like Marquise Siegel and Keenan Garber. Keenan had the big play there, which is certainly one of the biggest plays of the season. But Zayshawn was also picked on a little bit on some single coverage stuff and struggled with a little bit of tackling, but growing pains. K-State got out of it with a win. But yeah, we're like everybody else. So we want to see the improvement from the secondary. The numbers are a little bit too big, but of all those games I mentioned, I believe K-State's won every single one of them. So I like to also take the wins in any way you possibly can. All right, let's take a look at this past weekend in the Big 12. Starting on Friday, it was Utah at Arizona State. Well, the big headline there is Cam Rising made the return, and he was not good.
No.
He
returned, and now he's gone away.
Yeah, you could tell he was not 100%, and now it turns out he's out indefinitely. Yeah. But it was Arizona State with the win over Utah, 27-19. If you haven't heard the news, Cam Scatterbo for Arizona State is the offensive player in the week in the Big 12, not DJ Giddens. DJ did have more yards, better yards per carry, but he didn't score. And Cam did a couple of times. One of them was a 50-yard touchdown. Was actually a pretty sweet play.
Sick touchdown. He's so fun. I mean, both him and DJ. It really is a shame that a guy like Devin Neal, like KU, has been just so bereft of real anything, any juice on the offensive end, because there's some real fun running backs right now in the Big 12.
Well, UCF has made a quarterback change and going with Ja'Cory Brown, who threw for 207 against Cincinnati, but the Bearcats go on the road and beat UCF 19-13. I did not watch a second of this game, but I do like Brendan Sorsby. I think he is an underrated quarterback in this conference. He's throwing for a lot of yards. Real shocker, though, he threw for 2 interceptions. He's done a good job of taking care of the football this year.
They have some pieces on defense, Cincinnati does. They until Brendan DeMott actually took the lead, the top sack getter in the conference was from Cincinnati. They have 2 guys that are in the top 15 in the country.
Yeah, well, isn't one of them like the Godfather?
That is, and he's a third guy, Dante Corleone. These are 2 other guys. Yeah. So I mean, they got some dudes. That game coming up in a couple weeks is going to be super interesting.
Well, the game that Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt did was in Provo. BYU still undefeated. They are 6-0. and now 3-0 in Big 12 play. They, just took care of business against Arizona, 41-19. Noah Fafita throws 3 interceptions, and Teteroa McMillan, 5 catches, 78 yards, no touchdowns. Yeah, BYU was just too much for Arizona.
Yeah, you can't. And they also had a fumble that I think was a scoop and score as well. So you just cannot, with as good of a defense that BYU has, you can't be giving them that stuff because they're just gonna run away from you.
Jake Retzloff, 18 for 32, 218, and a couple of touchdowns, and they finally have their top running backs back, so they're running the football a little bit better, 5.5 yards per carry. They ran for $147. And then the final game, Iowa State wins in Morgantown. I was hoping for a little bit more from because I'm a little bit higher on West Virginia than most, but it's Iowa State that wins 28-16. What feels like kind of a snooze fest. I'm not sure, I didn't watch it at all, but
yeah, West Virginia was in it for a while, but it's tough. It's tough to hang with them.
Iowa State 6-0 for the first time since 1938.
I know.
We'll take a timeout. We'll hear from the voice of the Cats, Wyatt Thompson, next on Wildcat Insider.